Hey, this is Christian Buckley with CollabTalk, and I'm here talking with Thomas, doing another MVP Buzz chat. And Thomas, why don't you introduce yourself, where you're from, what you're doing now? And
Hi, hello, Christian. So my name is Thomas. I'm just got awarded the MVP award in April for our service and services. My primary focus is exchange online, all the stuff related to it, because I've got certified for exchange and the good all exchange 5 days, and I'm running my own business. And besides being a consultant, I'm a certified trainer as well, and help customers to, get accustomed themselves to cloud technology and exchange.
Excellent. And so you focus primarily your business on the exchange side of the house. Do you touch the other workloads at all?
So it's, Office 365 in general, because you can't separate the workloads anymore. But my primary goal is I primarily focus on messaging and how to secure the hybrid configuration when, connecting to Office 365 and Exchange Online. I'm not much of a SharePoint guy anymore, because back in the days I had to make a decision, to take the red or the blue pill. So SharePoint or Exchange? Well, Exchange won, and that's why I made one of the last master courses for Exchange 2010 and 2013, which was a pretty good experience. But I won't do it anymore.
So good experiences, as in, like the Chinese curse of may you have an interesting year kind of way.
Yeah, absolutely. The fellow colleagues from those courses, we're still colleagues, friends, and we already enjoy to meet during the yearly conference at Ignite, for example. So.
Yeah. Well, and we were just talking before we started recording. So you attended Ignite. Have you been to many of the Ignites or the big SharePoint conferences prior to Ignite? Your first one.
So the first Ignite was definitely the first one in Chicago and the Atlanta, Orlando, and this year's Ignite as well. So, and before Ignite, so when we all had the good smaller conferences, which were more focused on how to exchange information with colleagues and with Microsoft internals, like the Exchange conferences. Well, those I've attended as well, so it was quite a good time.
There's a lot of discussion, I know, certainly within the MVP community about what was better, having a dedicated SharePoint conference, dedicated Dynamics conference, Exchange conference, like those kinds of things, and you had Tech Ed and all of that. I mean, it's not a surprise that Microsoft consolidated all those efforts, because even on the technology side, I mean, to your point, Office 365, we touch all of these different workloads, and so it's difficult to not have your hand in SharePoint and Exchange and Teams and and Azure across all of that, and so that's why Microsoft moved towards the Ignite model.
Yes, I think that it's especially because all of those workloads are interconnected, and in the service itself evolves week by week. So each and every week, an administrator, an Office 365 administrator, does have 10 announcements where some services are enhanced, change their behavior and so on. So it's not like in the past where, when we got a new version of the product, then run the version of the product for 2 years, and then came in the next service pack and so on. So
right, and where those conferences really kind of served as Microsoft's effort to launch the preview, get feedback to finalize that, and now where it's we're getting features for every product every week, every other week,
Yeah, but all these results of rapid development are still hard to deal with by customers.
Right.
Still, they have still processes in place, where a software rollout or software update takes a year to get a new release into production, which is totally not working when you move to the cloud.
Right. That is I don't think there's any one answer to it. It falls fully within the "it depends" category of responses of how do you keep up with everything that's going on. And I mean, there's some great guidance that's out there. I saw there was actually an AvePoint blog post that was written by Matt Wade from the community, another MVP, of all these resources, all these places. And I tell people that there's a couple authoritative locations, like the office blogs that should be part of your regular consumption, and then the Microsoft tech community. I always add on that you should follow what's happening around the products you own that you manage in user voice to find out where feedback is. But then it's really a matter of find the right blogs and vlogs of people that you know and trust and want to follow along, like this series here out on YouTube. But I mean, so what are some of the your go-to resources for your area?
So one of the resources that I definitely use is the tech communities side. So all the new sources where all the TechNet content is moving to, the tech community side of things is definitely the place to go in the first place. Because
Right.
One of the things that you do have to learn these days is, not only to search for content if you're looking for content, but to be able to see how trustworthy the content is. Because these days, a lot of stuff is just, published, like thrown out of the door, and, see who is going to read it and apply the stuff to the production environment. But you do have to know about the technology. You have to understand what, especially when it comes to PowerShell scripts and configurations, what will this code do to my production environment? You have
Right.
to understand this stuff.
And that's why the community aspect and seeing the dialogue around that. Again, an example of, I was at a conference prior to the MVP summit and talking with a customer that was having problems with how Microsoft Teams was documented and what they were actually experiencing. And so I went and tried to get a clarification from Microsoft, and they said, well, hey, here's what's happening there. And then it turns out that they were incorrect, and we corrected them on that solution. But so that's why you going and kind of going out to the crowdsource around those topics is even important as well.
Yeah. So the thing is that that's one of the reasons why all the documentation is now being moved to GitHub, so that you can
Right.
contribute and update the stuff. But a lot of the information or documentation by Microsoft that's available is written in a way that you get the impression that some functionality is already available, even though that is more like an advertisement for the stuff to
Right.
come, right? So
Yeah.
we have to, you think you're looking for some sort of a behavior of a function, and it's not there. Yeah. And then you ask the internals, and it's going to come.
There's a term for that. It's called marketecture.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And
yeah,
it somewhat distracts conservative customers, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, so let me tell you. So I mean, it's fun sitting and talking about documentation, but so what would you say? It's so what are you passionate about right now? What are you out there talking with customers and things that you're passionate about?
Actually, I'm most of the time I'm talking to customers and aim prospects in regards to Office 365. That cloud by itself, it's not evil, because still a lot of people think cloud is bad. Other stuff that I put into the cloud is being shared with some, like the intelligence services and stuff, and even the cloud provider themselves are going to have access to my data, and you have to clarify a lot of wrong information and to show that moving to the cloud does have its challenges, but it's still most of the time more secure than running your stuff and holding your data in your on-premises environment. Right? This is stuff to convince people and just to get the right information out to IT administrators. And the other thing is that a lot of IT administrators do fear about their workplace.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because when a company more says, okay, we're going to move our stuff to the cloud, it's not being explained why and what are the challenges and what are the chances for the administrators, if they extend their knowledge and how they can even shape how the cloud is being introduced and being used by a company. It's just more like, they feel that they can't do anything about it. It just comes. It's interesting that a lot of administrators these days not even have familiarized themselves with PowerShell in 2018. And it's not a new stuff. It's not a new technology.
Right. Look, that's been a topic. I mean, we were talking about the first Ignite when they rebranded the conference to Ignite in Chicago, which, by the way, a lot of people didn't like the venue, the location. I thought it was fantastic. I actually loved it. But anyway. But,
compared to Atlanta, Chicago was
that's true.
Right, because it was pretty close to the city. The city itself was awesome.
I just say, I think it depended a lot where your hotel was. Mine was the last pickup, first drop off. So it was a good location. But no, I did a session on as part of that conference. I'll have to link it within the blog post for this, but around the future role of the IT pro. And so I did it just as I was, independent. I was, one of my first big research projects kind of outside. It was really just kind of a community-based research project. I went and did a lot of interviews with IT pros. I am not an IT pro. I point that out to everybody in the audience at the beginning of that. But to go and collect the information and back, and a lot of the fear was really kind of not just a lack of understanding of the transition the role will go through of an IT pro, where it does not go away, it moves. Which is not to say that there are not companies that go and say, hey, we can reduce headcount by getting rid of this role because we're moving to cloud services, and then find themselves in a difficult position later of not having that key understanding of the services they're consuming and the pieces, the components that are still on-prem. And so it can be very complex, and you need to still have those IT pros.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you'd have to familiarize yourself with the overall speed of change when it comes to the technology. But nevertheless, the marketing stuff that is being provided by cloud providers, not only related to Microsoft, but a lot of companies think that, okay, I can get rid of my administrators. I do get rid of my internal on-premises IT infrastructure. I simplify I simplify the things that I'm running my IT infrastructure with, but that's not true, right? Because it's getting cloud itself, it's a complex technology. You do have to have your own employees that can even evaluate of the stuff that is being provided by external consultants if this is for the good for the company, right?
Yep. And the other side of that too is, as you mentioned from the hybrid scenario, is that while there are plenty of companies that are out there that are pure cloud, they've always they never had that infrastructure. But any larger mid to large company that has been around for a few years has that infrastructure, has those components, has made all those investments, and you can't just cut and run from those systems. It takes time to move those over. And the right timing to make sure that you are getting the right value out of the investments you've already made as you make the transition over.
Yeah, absolutely. But the cloud actually makes it much easier for startups, to get it running and get up with the company itself, and do not have to have heavy investments up front for some sort of internal IT infrastructure. But when the startup more or less after 1, 2, or even 3 years then moves on to being successful, you can even then establish a on-premise stuff and then go into a hybrid mode or whatever.
Yep.
You are totally flexible.
That's a great point. When my first software startup in the late 90s, we were lucky enough to have been added to an IBM Connection incubator program when 98, I think that was 98, 99, and which gave us hardware and software and a bunch of other things. And so we were able to go and develop that. And so here we were self-funding, some friends and family initially, and couldn't afford to go out and buy everything that we needed to go and build out our product. And so now it's just amazing what you can do for very low cost and go and spin up and I mean, and even the user experience in Azure, in AWS, and all these platforms and other just tools that are out there connecting to those systems, it makes it for rapid, kind of proof of concept for startups, but also very inexpensive for just operations solutions like Office 365. I mean, I've been running my little company of 5, since day one on Office 365, and with essentially the 4 core. Email is still there. So between Outlook or Exchange, SharePoint, Yammer, and Teams, everything we do is within those 4. So it's so inexpensive for a team of 5 to get up and running on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get even support, from the BizSpark program by Microsoft. So this is the way that I funded and had the initial Office 365 licenses and even the software development licenses for my company when I started my business in 2014. So the BizSpark program by Microsoft is definitely a good starting point, when you think about starting your own business.
Yep. Is BizSpark still running? Or did they, because they've got a new program that just got announced. I wasn't sure if BizSpark was still around.
Well, it was definitely active at the beginning of this year. I'm going
to look it up right now. So
thank you, others. But nevertheless, some sort of program is definitely up there where Microsoft supports you in getting you up and running, starting your own company, providing value to the cloud service and to the software development side of things.
So I've not been watching this space, but you're exact. So it goes over now to startups.microsoft.com. So that was part of the news that I saw around that. And so I had a nonprofit a couple of years back, and so we leveraged some of the same resources. And so I just seem to have recalled that they were ending BizSpark like the name and just moving over to this broader program now.
Yeah, more modern, I would say.
Yeah, and it is something that, so I mean, for those that are toying with the idea of a product or a service and starting your own company, the fact that you can go and get access to very inexpensively through this program, I mean, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's other free resources like the go and sign up for like in Azure, and you get $200 worth of Azure services, which to go, and if you're again building a POC or something, you can go and utilize those and not have to pay a penny to go and prove something out and work with Azure as well.
Yeah, just keep the stuff that is going to work and just throw away the stuff that's not going to work. So.
Exactly. In fact, I say that as I need to go and set up for a demo environment, set up in Azure for this conference next week. So a bunch of things around SharePoint and with Teams. And so they've got those demo environments and other things that you can go and utilize, which is it's fantastic as a resource.
Yeah, just rethink, how complicated it was to script or to set up your SharePoint farm 5 to 6 years ago. Yeah. Compared to nowadays.
Well, something that we actually had, working for my prior ISV, that people would come and ask if they could buy from us, license the demo that we had built, and not because of the demo of our software, but because of all the dummy data that we could do this really rich demos with users and profile and content and all these things that are out there. I mean, and people would really pay for that. And
yeah, right. Because what is a demo environment, with any users, any content, right?
Yeah. So it's the difficulty of trying something new. If you don't have any data hooked up, then you're not going to get a real view of what this technology can do.
Yeah, especially when it comes to Office 365. So Microsoft partners can utilize a demo tenants which have a fully set of users and demo content available, because without any content, you are just plain not able to demonstrate all the services that are available in Office 365. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. You just can't show anything without any data.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Thomas, it's been great talking to you. How can people, if they want to reach out to you and connect with you, how can they find you?
So they can definitely find me easily using my own website. It's www.stensitzki.de. So I think we're going to put a link into the notes. Yes. Yep. And just follow me on Twitter at Stensitzki. So just my last name.
Excellent. Well, thanks. It was great to talk to you, and congratulations again on the new MVP. And are you going to make it over to the MVP Summit next spring?
Absolutely. You bet on that.
Yeah, that is a lot of fun. So I would even, if you can, to come spend a couple extra days. It's always a great opportunity. There's always stuff that's going on around it, but it's also an opportunity just to connect with the Microsoft folks and even the local community there and just make a lot of contacts. So I always encourage people to come out, spend an extra day or two, maybe set up meetings and things like that. So, but anyway, thanks a lot for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Christian. Take care.